Are you thinking about moving to Lisbon as an expat or just come and stay here for a longer time and you really want to scratch the surface of the city, get to know it more than a typical tourist would? In this video, I'm going to give you all of the best addresses and information that I've learned over 8 months of living here in Lisbon. Really the things that you would want to know if you are actually planning to come and live here or stay for a long amount of time. My name is Adrian Field, an expat entrepreneur currently living in Lisbon, and I'm so excited to share all of my favorite places with you in this video. So one of the first things that you would consider is, where do you want to live when you come to Lisbon? Now, I made the mistake when I first came here last year of renting an Airbnb in Baixa. Now, Baixa is like the very most central place of Lisbon. And so when I was looking at a map on Airbnb, I just thought, okay, which place is what looks like the heart of Lisbon? Now, I would recommend to avoid that area, Baixa, Chiado, even Bairro Alto, because these are very touristic areas being right in the center. And if you're wanting to stay here for a longer time, there are just much nicer neighborhoods that would really let you soak in what it's actually like living here in Lisbon. So my neighborhood that I live in, I got very lucky because, as I said, I didn't know anything about the neighborhoods. When I was looking for an apartment, I was just kind of trusting my agent, but also scouring Idealista and just sort of aiming blindly. And I ended up in a neighborhood called Príncipe Real that I absolutely love. In my opinion, this is the nicest neighborhood in Lisbon. It's also consequently one of the more expensive neighborhoods. And I love this neighborhood because it's just so charming. It has beautiful buildings, it has these quaint cobblestone streets, and at the same time it's extremely central, where if I want to walk to the bars in Bairro Alto, I'm 10 minutes away. If I want to walk almost anywhere, it's about a 10 to 15 minute walk. So it's very, very central. Another neighborhood that I like and I think is great for expats is called Estrela, and also the bordering neighborhood called Lapa. So they're right next to one another. And this is a place that has become quite popular with expats. Unfortunately, I feel like I have some trepidation in saying these things because as I'm recording this video and over the last few months, there have just been a lot of polemic situations and debate about how Lisbon is becoming gentrified and how expats are ruining the city. But putting that aside as a discussion for a different video that I've already made, these are neighborhoods that I think have a lot to offer for people. Again, where it's just quaint and it's not so touristic and it offers good things for when you're actually living there. Another neighborhood that is quite popular with younger people, especially some of my European friends who are around my age, which is to say late 20s, early 30s, is Graa. Now, Graa is one of the, again, very traditional neighborhoods of Lisbon. You have these winding streets. It's more uphill, so you're kind of dealing with a bit more of a tiring walk if you're walking everywhere. But Graa is very pretty. You get some great views as well from Graa, and it tends to be cheaper than the other neighborhoods that I've mentioned. Let's talk about gyms and fitness, because this is something that is really important for me, and I always want to know which is going to be the best gym for me when I move to a city. So again, this was a trial and error experience. I found a little gym that I was working out in Chiado when I first arrived here. Again, the problem with Baixa and why you want to avoid this neighborhood is that it's really not livable, in the sense that you don't have really any supermarkets down there, you don't have any gyms, so you're kind of in a situation where it's really just made for tourists. But anyway, so I would say that in terms of gyms, you really have two major options, both which are chains. One is called Holmes Place, and this is the higher end option. This is where I work out. They are nice because they have a gym, a jacuzzi, a sauna. It's also conveniently about a 15-minute walk from my house. And so that's why I joined that gym. But previously, before I decided to get fancy and join Holmes Place, when I was here in the wintertime, I signed up as a member of Fitness Hut. This is also a chain that has several locations throughout Lisbon, and it's significantly cheaper. To be a member of Fitness Hut, I think that the membership cost is something like 35 euros a month, very cheap, versus 90 euros a month for Holmes Place. The reason that I decided not to stay with Fitness Hut is just because I found that it's really crowded. Every time I would go there, it would be packed. So I was often waiting for a machine. The gym that I go to in Holmes Place, where there are several locations, but the one specifically that I go to is also kind of small, but I feel like I'm not typically waiting so much for a machine. and that's why I joined that one. If you really want to be fancy, there's also a place called Club Sete. That's how I say it in my wannabe Brazilian accent, Club 7. And this is in the Parque Eduardo Sete. And this is a place that has tennis courts, paddle courts, a pool, all of the amenities. And I think that the monthly membership is something like 130 or 150 euros a month. So if you're going there and you're doing the extra things, then I think it's worth it. But as of right now, just going to the gym, Holmes Place, is more than enough for me. I don't even use the pool there. I don't use the sauna. I don't use the jacuzzi. Go there, do my workout, and leave. Let's talk about buying furniture. So if you rent an apartment that's unfurnished, you're going to run into the situation that I've run into, which is wanting to buy and needing to buy really a lot of furniture. Now, my apartment did come semi-furnished, but it was all furnished with pretty ugly stuff. So since I've moved in here, I have been slowly furnishing this apartment. You can kind of see some of that behind me. But overall, it's been a very slow process because I didn't know at first where to buy furniture. I didn't want to buy everything from IKEA, and I really want my home to be a reflection of my taste, my aesthetic, etc. It's not yet at that point, but hopefully after the winter time, when I have money again, I will be fully decorating this apartment. So in terms of furniture stores, some of the ones that I like are Area. Area has a location in the Amoreiras shopping mall, and I think that they're quite reasonably priced. There's actually quite a range of prices there. You can find everything from, mid-range things to things that are very expensive if they're from some designer. I bought several things from Area. You can maybe see behind me this TV stand. I also have a rug that I bought from Area, and even my coffee table as well, though frankly the coffee table quality was quite poor, so it can be hit or miss with Area. I think that when you have the cheaper stuff from them, it's not always great quality, but within Portugal itself, in terms of furniture shops you can go to in person, there is not a huge amount of choice. Obviously you have IKEA, but you either love IKEA or you hate it. I'm not really a big fan. And then Area, and you have one other store that is right next to Area called Kinda Home. And it's very similar to Area, maybe a little bit more expensive, but from what I've heard, the quality is similar. Now, two things that have changed my life, or at least one thing that's changed my life recently, is discovering that Amazon ships to Portugal. Specifically, Amazon Spain is the best one. And I've been buying furniture from Amazon because, as you know, probably if you're in a country that has Amazon, you really can't beat it when it comes to price and just the variety of things. And I've been very pleasantly surprised. The things arrive quickly. Even when they require assembly, it's very easy assembly. So can you see behind me this white chair? I'm not sure if it's in the frame. I'm too blind to see even from the camera. But a white Sherpa chair that I really like that kind of pulled together this corner of my house, and a few other things recently that I bought from Amazon, let alone all of the kind of kitchen stuff that I bought from Amazon. So big life changer in terms of, the kinds of odds and ends furniture that you can find. I wouldn't buy a bed from Amazon, but for smaller things, I think it's really a great option. Another place that I've just discovered as of yesterday when I was on a coffee date with a guy, and he mentioned this place to me that I had never heard of. It's called Sklum, S-K-L-U-M. Apparently it's a Spanish company, and I was looking at their website yesterday, and they have really great things and for surprisingly inexpensive prices, and they deliver to Portugal. So this is a place that I'm probably going to buy a bunch of furniture from coming up. I really want to redo my bedroom because it was just left with really hideous IKEA furniture, so I want to replace the bed. I want to replace the nightstands. I want to replace the chest of drawers, basically everything, because whatever's there is ugly, it needs to go. And the stuff from this website is really nicely designed and very affordable, almost like IKEA prices, but with a much nicer aesthetic. So the other thing that I recommend is I just Googled in Portuguese, but something like comprar cama in Portugal. And then I found a website, which I'm going to put here because I don't remember the name. And they had great beds for, again, not very expensive, deliver here in Portugal, and just a better option than the stuff from Area or Kinda, which the prices are much higher, and I would assume the quality is probably the same. All right, another topic that you're going to need to know that's not a fun subject and something that I wish I hadn't even learned about, but I've been sick here and I had to learn about the healthcare system. So we're going to talk about which hospitals and clinics you would want to be aware of. So for a general hospital kind of situation, and we're talking about private healthcare as well at this point, because assuming if you're just moving here, you don't have access to the public system yet, and furthermore, from what I've heard about the public healthcare system, long wait times and probably not that great. So you can get private insurance here for not very expensive. I made a video about this previously, but we're going to talk about hospitals, as I said. So the first one, it's a chain, meaning that they have several locations. It's called CUF, C-U-F. I went there recently to consult with 2 different specialists and then have a small procedure done. I found it to be satisfactory. Thankfully, again, I had insurance, so it wasn't so expensive. I don't really know what to say about it other than that. I mean, I don't have like rave reviews generally for a hospital, but it was fine. I accomplished what I needed to accomplish. I'm better, so I guess thanks to them. That's all. So I would recommend if you have like any sort of situation or if you need to see a generalist, CUF is a pretty good option. There's another place that I haven't visited yet, but I heard very good things about. It's called Alegria Medical Center, and they have a location right on Avenida da Liberdade or right off of it. And they tend to be, from what I've heard, really good. It's another private healthcare clinic, more kind of like a boutique rather than a big hospital. So if I had something again in the future, I would probably go there next time rather than CUF. I don't even know why I went to CUF. I think that it just appeared on my insurance as a place that I should go, or maybe someone recommended it. I don't remember. But out of those 2, I would probably choose Alegria. Again, just because they have better reviews, and with the CUF system, it's really more local Portuguese, whereas Alegria is really meant for expats. Lastly, within this category, I want to talk about aesthetic medicine, because that for me is a much more fun subject and something that I actually enjoy doing rather than dealing with bad health issues. In terms of Botox, laser, fillers, all of that stuff, I've discovered a place called Avenue Clinic, again, right off of Avenida da Liberdade, and I had a treatment there called Ultraformer, I think it was called, something where they just like tighten the skin around your neck with some sort of like radio frequency machine. Their prices are rather expensive, but also kind of on par with what you would expect to be paying for these types of services in general. But the clinic itself is 5-star, and they have English fluency, the doctors. So I would recommend if you're going and you want to do your, maintenance treatments, youth treatments, all of that stuff, a really good option. One of the great things about Lisbon is that it has great weather, almost sometimes too good, in the sense that, for example, today we're in the first week of October and it's still in the 80s, which again, I always forget Celsius, but like high 20s, I think, which really feels too warm for this time of year. I really would like to be wearing sweaters at this point, but anyway, the weather is great, and so if you want to go to a park, I'm going to share with you some of my favorite ones. My favorite park in Lisbon is without a doubt the Jardim do Torel, and it's a park that not too many tourists know about because it's a teeny little park almost, but still in the center of the city. But it has amazing panoramic views of the city. It's a great place to watch the sunset. It's a great place just to hang out in general. You can go there, have a beer, bring a bottle of wine, make a little picnic. There's always people just chilling. It's a really, really beautiful space. If you want to meet a friend for coffee in the afternoon, one of my favorite gardens is called the Jardim da Estrela. And it's a really nice, lovely place. You often have families and people walking their dogs there. There's 2 different kioski type of cafes there. Just a really nice place to sit, watch the world go by. It's nice, it's nicely shaded, just a really nice place. Sometimes they also have live music, and lovely. And when you want to find a park just to go kind of walk by yourself, be with your own thoughts, a place where there's hardly ever any people, I recommend the Tapada das Necessidades, and it's just a little bit further from the Estrela Park, and it's a lovely place that has peacocks walking around. It kind of has this old world abandoned feel with flowers everywhere and these trees blooming. It's a very, very lovely place. I should get out there more often, but I find myself a little bit lazy because it's about a 25-minute walk from my house, but that's really no excuse. It's a gorgeous park and a great place to kind of just be with your thoughts and have a romantic stroll if you have a partner. Let's talk about one of my favorite subjects, which is shopping and the best shopping in Lisbon. I'm gonna just give you 3 general type of either stores or locations for shopping, because of course there's a lot more than this and I could go more granular into talking about brands and all of these things, but I just want to give a bit of an overview. One of my favorite places, or rather not favorite because it's not that aesthetic, but it does have everything, is the Amoedas shopping center. I already mentioned Amoedas when I talked about gyms. So usually my routine is I work out and then I go into the Amoedas shopping center right next door, and I actually do my grocery shopping there because they have a big Auchan. But in addition, they have all kinds of shops in this mall. So clothing shops, they have home decor shops. That's actually also where Area is. It's just kind of a very central mall that has almost everything. Another one of my favorite places is the Embaixada. And Embaixada is in this gorgeous building that looks like an old palace, and they have all Portuguese brands. And I've said before, one of my favorite things is supporting local designers, local manufacturing, etc. So since I've moved to Portugal, I tend to try to buy as many Portuguese brands, as many Portuguese products as possible. And what I love about the Embaixada, besides just being a gorgeous place, is again that their emphasis is on local brands. So they have some of my favorite brands. They're like Isto, a Portuguese brand that has gorgeous classical menswear, a shoe store called Hirundo that I have a pair of shoes from, made here in Portugal. And then they have another shoe store that has only Portuguese brands of shoes and some other clothes. And they also have a great cosmetics store in there. So again, a place that you kind of can't miss. Really gorgeous, highly recommend. My last recommendation is a boutique in Chiado called Parisim Boa, and this is a bedding store. It has the most gorgeous linens and bedding that you can imagine, like really luxury, high quality stuff made here in Portugal, and the store itself is beautiful. It just has this very fabulous, luxurious, old world shopping experience. I highly recommend it, even if you go there and just buy some pillowcases. It's really nice. Let's talk about the best brunch places in Lisbon. Lisbon has so many options for great brunches, and luckily for me, many of them tend to be in my neighborhood here of Príncipe Real. So I'm just going to give my 4 top ones, but there are so many others than this, and I obviously have not explored every single brunch place in Lisbon, so this is just a small highlight. My number 1 is a place called Well Center, and very close by my house. Super charming. They have an outdoor patio, and the chef is this very nice lady that is Brazilian. I think her name is actually Adriana. Yes, I'm almost positive her name is Adriana. And the food is great and very chill place. Really pretty when the weather is good to be sitting on the terrace. Very nice menu. Another one here in my neighborhood is called Marquise de Mobler. They also have this kind of indoor courtyard garden sort of situation going on, and the food is really good. It's fairly priced. They have really nice baked things as well, like nice pâtisserie. Highly recommend, cute spot. And the last one in my neighborhood, just because I don't want them all to become so popular that I won't be able to get a table anymore, is called Seagull Method. And Seagull Method, already I find it can be difficult to get a table there because they are quite popular, and deservedly so, because they have a great menu, the staff is friendly, and it's just a really nice spot. And my last favorite brunch place, I feel like I have to give them an honorable mention, because when I was here in the wintertime and living in Baixa, I was going there all the time, and it's called Breakfast Lovers Misericordia. And I was so lucky to find this place because I was trying to go to a different brunch place that had a huge line of people outside, which can often happen with the more popular brunch spots in the tourist areas. But as I was walking back from that, because I don't wait in line for brunch, I stumbled upon this place and was able to sit down right away, and I ended up having brunch there almost every day after that. They had just opened up, which is why they weren't as popular as some of the more famous brunch places, but I think even by this point that I'm recording this video, and they've been open for over half a year, they've also become hugely popular. You can check them out on Google, as I did before making this video, and they have a 4.9 out of 5 star rating. So very great breakfast. Again, friendly, good spot, right in the heart of, I guess you would call this neighborhood kind of Chiado, kind of Salvento, but anyway, very central. Let's talk about some bars. Now, I'm not a huge bar person, but every once in a while, I like to just have a nice, glass of wine somewhere, etc. So there's a couple that I can recommend. One for cocktails is called Imprensa, and they have 2 locations now. One of them is near my house, and another recently opened somewhere else. They're really famous for their mixed drinks. It's a very popular place. In the nighttime, you find a crowd of people outside, so I recommend going there early, usually before 9 o'clock if you want to have a maybe a pre-dinner cocktail, because after dinner already in a small space, it is packed, standing room only, and outside basically. My favorite wine bar in Lisbon is called Ressaca Tropical. I found this place because I was a member of a club called Nino, which had organized a wine tasting one evening, and they had the bartender from this place, Ressaca Tropical, come, a very handsome Portuguese guy. And so afterwards, because he was so handsome, I wanted to go to his bar and see him again. And the bar itself is really cute, very well styled, well decorated, and they have an amazing selection of wines, including ones that they make themselves. So this place would probably be my #1 pick of all of the bars in Lisbon. And one more that I'm going to recommend, even though I actually haven't been there yet, but it just opened up recently and I have a friend who is working there and it seems to be a really cool place, is called Drama Bar. And I'm recommending it because it's a very interesting concept where they do these live performances.
Read runway.
No.
And before today you had never heard of me.
No.
And you have no style or sense of fashion.
I think that depends on what you're...
No. That wasn't a question.
Those are kind of like theater experiences as well. So it's a great place to go besides just have a drink, where especially maybe if you're traveling alone, it's a good place to go because you can actually like see a show and then that's a conversation starter. And I think that it's just an interesting concept that is something new here in Lisbon. All right, now I'm gonna dish on my favorite date spots. So I moved to Lisbon from Bali because I felt like in Bali I had no social life and I didn't want to die alone. So in moving here to Lisbon, dating is a very big priority to me, and over the course of the 8 months that I've been living here, I've gone on quite a lot of dates, and some of my top choices for a date are as follows. #1, when I'm feeling lazy because it's the closest to my house, is Magnolia Wine Bar. Another great wine bar that I decided not to include in my bar list because I knew I was going to include it in my date night list. It's a really cute, cozy bar right in the Praça das Flores, and it has a view right onto the Praça. It's a very romantic spot. Again, it's become so popular that it's hard to get a table there, so you kind of either have to call ahead for a reservation or go on a weird hour where maybe it won't be as popular. But these days, kind of always popular, and deservedly so, because again, great wines, great location. When I'm going on a date with a guy who lives kind of on the other side of the city, I will usually try to arrange a meeting at the Topo Marti Moniz. And my friend Fabrizio introduced me to this place, and I'm very grateful that he did, because it's a very cool rooftop bar that is hidden, like actually quite a few of the rooftop bars here in Lisbon are. This one, you enter through this nondescript building in what's basically kind of like the Asian or Chinatown of Lisbon, and you go up an elevator to the top, and then all of a sudden you have this amazing view of Lisbon. Also, they have these vintage arcade games there that are free to play, and it's a really cool spot, great place for a date. You know, you have a drink, maybe play some arcade, have a great view of the city, and just a really chill place. Another great spot for an afternoon coffee, which I'm gonna have to look at the name because it's too long and I never remember it, is called the Miradoro de São Pedro de Alcântara. And this one, I mean, this has the most gorgeous panoramic view of the city. They have a nice kiosk there, so you can sit down, have some coffee, have a glass of wine, whatever it is that you want. And when the weather is good, it's just such a lovely place. And I really think that there's no Miradoro that has such a like sweeping, expansive view like this one. And lastly, again, this is a great date spot for an evening drink to watch the sunset or even hang out after the sunset, because it really has a vibe. It's called Park Rooftop, and it's called Park Rooftop because it's literally on the rooftop of a parking garage. Again, a place that you enter that if you don't know it, you would never find it because it's literally in a parking garage. There's not even a sign outside for the place. You go in, you go up to the 5th floor of the garage, and then you walk up another flight of stairs, and then there you are on a great rooftop, beautiful view, usually a vibe, you know, music is playing, really kind of packed with people. Great spot. All right, now I'm going to tell you about the places that the actual locals go out to at night if they want to party. We're going to start with my favorite, one that I discovered recently that I just think is such a unique experience, called the Palacio do Grio. This is a place that is, I think, an 18th century palace and is now a place where you can go and have dinner. They have burlesque shows, they have like a dinner theater performances. They also on, I think it's usually Friday nights, but it could be all weekend, I'm not sure, but they have great parties there. The space itself is incredible. You're literally partying in an old palace. They have these gardens, and it just feels very old world, very special to be there. Now, this place is literally where all of the cool Lisbonites hang out. It's called Luke's, and this is the premier nightclub of Lisbon, and I'm almost a little bit hesitant to reveal it because, number one, they don't have a great reputation towards tourists specifically, but I guess I'm not making this video for tourists, I'm making it for expats. So Luke's, as I said, is the premier nightclub of Lisbon. They have electronic music. So this is not my cup of tea. I have been to Luke's twice, and I like it because it feels like a special place. You know that the people there are cool. It always has really attractive people. And the space itself is cool. It's very big. You have these kind of indoor, outdoor spaces. There's even a rooftop there. And people go there and they party until 6 a.m. So my advice is if you want to go and check it out, try to get in before 2 a.m. because after that they can be more selective. The first time I went with 5 other friends, and very strangely, 4 of us got in and the last 2 people didn't get in, and the 2 people that were waiting before us that were not in my group didn't get in. So I don't really know exactly what their criteria is, but I have heard from people that they don't really welcome tourists very much. So if you're obviously a tourist, if you don't speak Portuguese, if you're not well dressed, if you don't kind of have the look that they're looking for, then you probably won't get in. And my last recommendation in terms of partying and all of this is to download the app called Shotgun, and they also have an app called Resident Advisor. And both of these apps have all of the events and parties that are going on in Lisbon, because I would say that Lisbon is more of like an event kind of city, especially in the summertime when there's so many parties going on in Caparica. This is the place where you buy tickets, and you can also find out all of the events that are happening in the city because they're listed. And so even if you're coming here, let's say, and visiting for a month, 2 months, and you're trying to like get into the social scene, you're trying to find out what are the cool parties, these are apps where you can find out pretty much everything that's going on. And lastly, I want to talk a little bit about the gay life in Lisbon and some of the addresses and things that you might know, because I also found out just through experience, but I'm going to pass on what I know now and what maybe I would have liked to know earlier, but I didn't need to because luckily I found friends. And if you're a gay guy, you know it's always very easy to meet people wherever you go in the world who are going to give you the scoop and tell you what's happening. Most of the gay bars are centered around Bairro Alto, which again is where most of the bars in general in Lisbon are. There's kind of like a corner where there's a bunch, maybe a handful, not a bunch would be an overstatement, of gay bars. Some of the popular ones are Purex, Friends, places that honestly I don't really like because they're absolutely minuscule and it's just not my vibe really to be at a bar. But if that's your thing, then by all means go. It's actually a better place maybe to start your night. So maybe you head there around 11 p.m., you know, after you finish your late dinner, have some drinks before you move on and go to a different party. Usually after the bars, you might end up in the gay club called Trumps. I don't know why it's called Trumps, but I think it was called that well before Donald Trump was elected. Anyway, and I don't think that they would have that sense of irony anyway. This is, I guess, the premier gay club in Lisbon, though I don't really know what would make it so. It is the typical gay club with the pop music. They have drag queens some nights. And I've been there once and it was what it was. It wasn't bad, but I don't know, it's small and it's a gay club. There's really not much more to say about it other than that. There's also a place that I like in Príncipe Real called Finalmente, and this is a drag bar slash club. They have performances, I think almost every night, or maybe from like Wednesday to Sunday. And the drag is actually a lot of fun, and it's a tiny little place, so sometimes you're lucky and you can get a table without a reservation. Other times it's better to call ahead, but a really cute neighborhood, fun spot. You can get some exposure into what the Lisbon drag scene is like. And then if you are into cruising and all of this, there are 2 places that you should know about. One is the sauna called Trombeta. It's also in Bairro Alto, around kind of where the bars are, and it's actually a nice sauna. I had never been to a sauna in my life before, but a friend initiated me in the experience, and I have to say I really enjoyed it that time, and I went back a few more times, and I actually prefer to go in this kind of place rather than a club because you can actually talk to people and do whatever it is that you want to do in the sauna. And lastly, I cannot forget Praia 19, which is the gay beach. It's also a nude beach down in Caparica. You can take an Uber there for about 25 euros, so it's not the most convenient or easy place to get to, but if you want to hang out in a nude beach where there are people cruising and there's some hookups in like the bushes or whatever in the back, then it's just something that you should know about. Hopefully I won't get like in trouble for revealing that this is happening there, but it's an open secret and I don't think it's illegal. But anyway, so that's it for this video. These are really my top places in Lisbon, the places that make up a part of my life here, and I hope that you enjoy my recommendations. I hope that if you come to Lisbon, you can check out some of the places and really go deeper, you know, and get off the beaten path of the tourist stuff and really understand what it's like to live in this city, which I've fallen in love with and I'm so happy and grateful to call my home. Thank you guys for watching, and until the next time, take care, and I'll see you later.